Welcome along to Brands Hatch for the final two races of the 2018 season. This weekend we're joined by Motorsport magazine photographer Lyndon Neal, who has just passed his ARDS test and will be racing for the very first time. We will follow him from his first test drive with Radical to his first ever race here this weekend.
We sent him out just to do 3 laps, just to make sure he was comfortable in the car, and he got around the 3 laps fairly unscathed. We've sent him out for a further 10 laps, really, just to see how he gets on.
It's incredible. I've never had so much fun on 4 wheels. The faster you go, the more grip you have. It's just raw power, and it's light and it's nimble, and it's incredible. Oh yeah, my heart's reality's sinking in, but I can't wait. It's going to be so good. It just felt comfortable. There's some it's a nice, easy understeer which I enjoy. And it just, I don't know, everything felt right. To be in the top 10 is, I know there's only 3 or 4 others behind me, but I don't care. I've just got to keep it on the track for the race now.
So the grid for race 1 of the weekend, the 2 championship rivals, Ryan Harper-Ellam and James Pinkerton on the front row, Shane Stoney and Dean Warriner on row number 2 with Mackenzie Walker and Julian Lay on row number 3, Will Hunt and Chris Short on row 4. It's Lyndon McNeil and Mark Williams on row number 5 ahead of Paul Clark, Gavin McAlpine and David Tagg. So they're on their green flag warming up lap. The championship is beautifully poised. 43 points in the lead of the championship is James Pinkerton with 84 available this weekend. Ryan Harper-Ellam has got a job to do. He's qualified on pole. That already gives him 1 additional championship points. Don't forget there's also a point for fastest lap. 40 points in each race for a win. So there goes number 21, Will Hunt, the 20-year-old estate agent from Brighton. Let's see what he might be able to do. Try to work his way up from what will be 7th on the grid, but neat 2x2 order. Ryan Harper-Ellam and James Pinkerton, the 2 championship rivals, on the front row of the grid. The rolling start, the lights will go out any second now. Neat 2x2 order, lights go out. A better start by the look of things from James Pinkerton, but he's on the outside line heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, and it will be Ryan Harper-Ellam that goes through to take up the lead of the race. James Pinkerton in 2nd place. It looks as though Dean Warriner, who's slotted himself through into 3rd position, and now he's attacking James Pinkerton up the inside, heading in towards Druids for the first time. Pinkerton leaves the door open largely because he's got a championship to think about, and Dean Warriner is able to slot himself through as we ride on board with Lyndon McNeil. Downhill in towards a braking area for the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. You can see there is a dry racing line, but as soon as you go offline, you're onto the damp stuff. That's going to make overtaking rather difficult, and in particular for one car, Shane Stoney, who qualified 3rd, the start of the green flag lap. He stalled the car, had to go then ultimately off the back of the grid. He sneaks his way up the inside of number 44, Julian Lay, who tries to fight back as they head up towards Clark Curve. You can see the car moving around under acceleration, but Shane Stoney desperate to try and pick up the places here. Over the start-finish line now goes Shane Stoney, looking to try and gain more places. He's knocking on the door of getting himself inside the top 6, but he say qualified in 3rd position, so still has got a chunk of work to do, whilst out front leading the race. Ryan Harper-Ellam still leads the race. Dean Warriner there in 2nd place. James Pinkerton in 3rd, but he's now coming under pressure as well. That's from the car of Will Hunt, the number 21 car by the look of things, that sits directly behind him. Lyndon McNeil still working beautifully well as well, the motorsport photographer, losing out to David Tagg there. David Tagg's Generation 1 SR1 able to sneak its way through on the outside on the run down in towards Graham Hill Bend. Well, the problems go from bad to worse for Shane Stoney. Now he's been given a 10-second penalty for a false start. As I said, he'd stalled the car at the start of the green flag lap, and ultimately then, with all of the cars having gone past him, should have remained at the back. It would appear he may well have just gained a couple of places before the race got underway, so he's now got a 10-second penalty. All of the hard work he'd done to carve his way through the field, he's got to do it all again now in reality, because he will be given an additional 10 seconds added to his race time. There is number 22, James Pinkerton. Looks as though he's not quite under the same amount of pressure from Will Hunt anymore. Shane Stoney trying to go round the outside of competitors again. As soon as you get onto the damp curves, you can see the SR1 sort of flick sideways, so Julian Ley was almost able to squeeze his way back through again then, but Shane Stoney, either way, regardless of the problems at the start, regardless of the 10-second penalty, is driving beautifully well here. His father, Chris, not only a very good kart racer, but he also raced Radical SR3s and SR4s in the past. Accelerating out of Clark Curve, back over the start-finish line yet again. This is the opportunity that Shane Stoney has been waiting for, flashing the lights, trying to weave his way through and ahead of the car that sits directly ahead of him. That's Mackenzie Walker, and he's going to try on the outside line. Well, that's brave in these damp conditions, and he's made it stick as well. Fantastic stuff from Shane Stoney, all the way around the outside of Mackenzie Walker. And, well, Mackenzie, driver we regularly see racing in the Lotus Cup UK, having to give second best to the charging SR1 of the man from York. So already it looks as though Mackenzie Walker is now starting to fall into the clutches of Julian Ley that sits directly behind all of the time whilst Ryan Harper-Ellam is out front and leading this race. Dean Warriner looks very comfortable in second place. James Pinkerton's in third, but that man there, Shane Stoney, is still looking to try and carve his way up through the order. Another great little fight going on for the final two places inside the top 10. This is for 9th and 10th position. Gavin McAlpine and Mark Williams rolling their sleeves up and slugging it out, and it's not long after then that we then start to see the battle for the last three places. The likes of David Tagg, Lyndon McNeil and Paul Clark all not that far away from each other as they all head over ready to start another lap of the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, the 1.2079 mile circuit that we're racing on to conclude the 2018 Radical SR1 season. Here we go up towards the braking area for Druids. David Tagg left the door open and, well, Lyndon McNeil thought about it. Then at the last moment he decided, understandably so in his first ever race, that discretion is the better part of valour, so just tucks himself back in behind the far more experienced David Tagg as they now propel himself onto the Cooper Straight. But it's been a good debut race really from Lyndon McNeil so far. So Mackenzie Walker's under enormous pressure. Julian Ley and Chris Short all queuing up behind him, ready to try and put him under pressure. And this time it looks as though Julian Ley has got the run on Mackenzie Walker. He's up the inside, heading in towards Clark Curve. Mackenzie Walker now on the high side, heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend, but he's tried to brave it out. He's got a bit more straight line speed, but he's on the wrong side, and therefore sneaking his way through goes Julian Ley. Mackenzie Walker just getting the door closed before Chris Short is able to look to try and sneak through as well. Chris Short comfortably the leading rookie that we've got in this race at this stage, and Julian Ley is the leading competitor in the Fangio Cup currently. So downhill in towards the braking area for Graham Hill Bend. Fantastic squabbles amongst the mid-pack. Whilst out front, Ryan Harper-Ellam, Dean Warriner and James Pinkerton still occupy the overall podium places. Elsewhere down through the York, you can see just how close it is still, as again it is Mackenzie Walker who's coming under pressure from Chris Short this time. Having lost the place to Julian Ley, he's in danger of losing a further place here. There is our race leader, Ryan Harper-Ellam, looking to try and press on still. Down in towards Graham Hill Bend goes he, through the left-hander. Over the start-finish line goes the fight that we were talking about. Mackenzie Walker under pressure. Looks as though this time Chris Short has been able to squeeze his way through. So another place gained there for Chris Short. Another place lost, rather frustratingly, for Mackenzie Walker, who qualified in 5th position. But on the drying track, seems to be struggling a little bit, and he's now got Mark Williams not that far behind him. Could be in danger of losing a further place here if he's not careful. Great battling it makes for. Straight. Mark Williams equally as much conscious that if he attacks and it doesn't work, he's got Gavin McAlpine right behind him. So there goes a little trio, Mackenzie Walker, then number 18 car of Mark Williams, followed very close thereafter by Gavin McAlpine, and the likes of Chris Short and Julian Ley now making good their escape, having got past Mackenzie Walker. Over the start finish line, another lap chalked into the book. Through goes Mackenzie Walker, desperate to try and not lose further places, having lost a couple. Hugely keen to try and keep the next couple of cars behind him, down through the dip. Towards the braking area for the Druids in the meantime comes Will Hunt and Chris Short, and then that little trio thereafter, which is still being headed by Mackenzie Walker, but for how much longer? You can see the dry line is getting ever wider as well, so it may well be that the conditions, you can see the sunlight, big mistake for David Tagg, who spins directly in front of Lyndon McNeil. Full 360 degree spin for David Tagg, who then hooks up the gears again, selects first in this 6-speed gearbox and is able to continue without any problems, but that now has dropped David Tagg to the very tail end of the field by the look of things. Here comes another little trio fighting away. That's Will Hunt looking to try and keep the aspirations of Julian Lay and Chris Short at bay, onto the brakes in towards the right-hander at Paddock Hill Bend that starts the 1.2 mile lap here at Brands Hatch, and this time it looks as though there's a good run being done by the number 44 car in the hands of Julian Lay. Squeezes his way up the inside of Will Hunt and goes through. Will Hunt pushed offline onto the damp stuff, then Julian Lay runs wide, and all of a sudden gaining 3 places as a result of that is the car that kept its nose clean. Chris Short manages to sneak past both of them and will disappear up the road. Ryan Harper-Ellam is busy working his way through traffic currently, and the 2 cars that he's just lapped are fighting over penultimate place and last place in the race, that being Paul Clark and David Tagg respectively. They're nose to tail now that they've been lapped by the race leader heading onto the Cooper Straight, and David Tagg looks to try and cut back on the exit of the corner. Is that going to be sufficient for him to grab the place? Yes, he does. So David Tagg gains the place. That now means that Paul Clark drops a place in the race overall, and actually drops a place in the Fangio Cup as well. He'll go to 3rd place in the Fangio Cup for the slightly older drivers in the field. Race leader Ryan Harper-Ellam in the meantime will keep pressing on through the traffic. As for Paul Clark, is there an opportunity to try and grab the place back immediately on the run up towards Paddock Hill Bend? Well, not quite on this occasion. So it's still David Tagg from Paul Clark as they turn their way through Paddock Hill Bend and start to descend down the dip, which immediately then starts to rise into the braking area for Druids Corner. Circuit ever drying. You can see that drier line is getting wider, certainly amongst the trees and the more shaded parts of the circuit. It's still very tricky as soon as you go offline. All of the drivers will be hugely mindful of that. Dean Warrener will also be hugely mindful that James Pinkerton is beginning to close in now. This is the fight for 2nd and 3rd place. They've also got the same back markers that Ryan Harper-Ellam had to deal with just up the road as well. For Dean Warrener, he meets at least one of them, that being Paul Clark, in a straight line, and is able to sneak his way through. James Pinkerton also carved his way through. Look at the car that's behind as well. That's Shane Stoney. Remember, he's got an extra 10-second penalty that will be added to his race time, but he's now right up onto terms, having started off almost the back of the grid with the cars that are fighting over 2nd and 3rd place. And here comes James Pinkerton attacking Dean Warrener, looking to try and squeeze his way through. David Tagg is in the way. The back marker looks to try and stay out of the way, but unfortunately for James Pinkerton, he met the back marker in the wrong place. That's delayed him, and now it means Shane Stoney is through. Gains 3rd place on the road, but remember, he's got an extra 10-second penalty, and James Pinkerton now is able to work his way past the traffic that gave him the problem, that being David Tagg, who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, really. Remember, with James Pinkerton being the championship leader, the last thing he needs this weekend is an off, tangling with a back marker. So maybe just that little bit better. Approach the back marker with a little bit of caution. If you lose a place, you lose a place. But it's really up to Ryan Harper-Ellam to try and overhaul the points tally. And James Pinkerton's sensible driving looks as though he's already back through it ahead of Shane Stoney, though, so it didn't take him long. Now, these are fighting for position on track. Remember, the white car with the red flashes to it that sits behind James Pinkerton has a 10-second penalty as a result of being out of position at the start, but that's not preventing them from having a great fight here at Brands Hatch in this autumn sunshine. So out of the hairpin downhill in towards the braking area for Graham Hill Bend. Car that they're looking to try and close right back in on is all of a sudden Dean Warrener, so the fight is on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th on the road. Shane Stoney looking very racy as the 3rd of the cars in this train, but Dean Warrener at the front of it is desperate to try and hang on to 2nd position. He'll be hugely pleased if he could do that, because he's now really having to soak up the pressure from the championship leader James Pinkerton, from the runner-up in the Ginetta GT5 Challenge from last year. Over the start-finish line now go chalk another lap into the book. Dean Warrener under pressure from James Pinkerton, who gets a little bit sideways this time through Paddock Hill Bend. That allows Shane Stoney to squeeze his way through, and now Shane Stoney's having to go at Dean Warrener. He's on the grass, he locks the brakes, he's totally sideways. Somehow he hangs on to the car as well. Dean Warrener bounces off the curbs on the exit of Druids. This is all getting rather marginal now. There's a little bit of smoke also just coming from the tail end of Dean Warrener's car. I would imagine that's bodywork rubbing on the Hankook tyre. It is, by the look of things, that light contact between himself and what looked like a car of Shane Stoney, who was going to be ending up in the gravel trap, but somehow great car control from Shane Stoney, avoided the worst of the contact, avoided causing too many problems for either himself or Dean Warrener, and the two of them live to fight again. James Pinkerton has dropped away from this pair now as they go side by side over the start-finish line. Is Shane Stoney going to try around the outside again at Paddock Hill Bend? He's made it stick once in this race. Dean Warrener having none of that, sticks his elbows out, hands on to 2nd place. Shane Stoney having to settle for 3rd. Remember, on the road this is, because he's got that 10-second penalty. You can see all of them on the very edge of adhesion, and now that they are starting to get a little bit more ragged, James Pinkerton, who had fallen away, has caught up with them again. So onto the Cooper Straight, second, third and fourth in the race, all absolutely together, way up the road now, 30 seconds up the road is Ryan Harper-Ellam almost. And this is exactly what he wants, 3 cars squabbling away, slowing each other down, allows him to build his advantage ever more as he looks to try and secure the maximum 40 points for this race victory if he hangs on to it. Plus, at the moment, he has set the fastest lap of the race as Ryan Harper-Ellam. Flashing the lights again, Shane Stoney trying to attack on the run up towards Paddock Hill Bend. Dean Warriner nice and neat and tidy, takes the regular racing line through. Shane Stoney closes a little bit though this time. He isn't going to close sufficiently enough on the run up towards Druid so as to gain the place, but again you can see the tyres starting to give up a little bit on Dean Warriner's car there, and Shane Stoney instantly sees that and is able to react. Warriner brakes as late as he can, but he's on the damp part of the circuit. Shane Stoney is able to squeeze his way through, gains a place on the road over Dean Warriner, who will now be conscious that he needs to keep James Pinkerton behind him. So it doesn't matter where you look in this race, we've had action from start to almost finish at this stage, because there's only a handful of laps now to go. Ryan Harper-Ellam leading the race, Dean Warriner no longer in second on the road, but Shane Stoney having got through and ahead of him. Remember, that 10-second penalty will drop him at this stage back off the podium places once more for Shane Stoney, who either way has driven his socks off in this race. There goes James Pinkerton, who mathematically is not going to secure the championship in this race. It looks as though if they stay where they are, it is going to be sufficient to mathematically have stitched it up. Now, it will mean that the second race becomes substantially easier for James Pinkerton. All he needs to do in reality is almost finish that race, and that would be enough, but mathematically he is not going to be able to say he's the champion at the end of this race. There is Shane Stoney, he's in second place, number 61 Dean Warriner in third, there's number 22 James Pinkerton, who sits there in fourth place, and there is number 79, our race leader Ryan Harper-Ellam, who again is having to just work his way through a little bit of traffic, but when you've got yourselves a 25-second advantage, which no doubt he'll be getting notified about from the pit wall, he knows he can just bide his time to work his way through the traffic. The next of the back markers is going to be Mackenzie Walker by the look of things, who was of course involved in a great fight earlier on in this race, but it looks as though Ryan Harper-Ellam is going to squeeze his way through and past Mackenzie Walker without too much trouble, one would have thought, as they head over the start-finish line. Now Mackenzie Walker is about to head off the lead lap. Ryan Harper-Ellam squeezes his way through, takes the place away and puts Mackenzie Walker down a lap, and that was all done beautifully efficiently as well, as far as Ryan Harper-Ellam is concerned. Met the traffic in a straight line, so he didn't really have to blend off the throttle, and it's another car that he's now managed to put between himself and his championship rivals, all of whom are some way adrift now as well, such as Ryan Harper-Ellam, who qualified the car on pole position. There was 0.3 of a second quicker than James Pinkerton, who at the moment is still circulating there in that car, number 22, fourth place on the road. Remember, Shane Stoney, who runs second on the road, has an extra 10-second time penalty needed to be added. So over the start-finish line, just 1.2 miles between Ryan Harper-Ellam and yet another race victory. We saw him claim a double win at Snetterton. He won a race at Silverstone. He took a double win at Cadwell Park and won at Donington Park last time out as well. It looks as though win number 7 is about to go the way of Ryan Harper-Ellam in what has been a great season for him. A couple of little blips, starting with a retirement at Alton Park and also had another retirement at Donington Park, and it's those two retirements that have compromised his point scoring in what otherwise has been a very competitive season for the 20-year-old driver coach from Brackley. Here he comes out of clock curve, the checkered flag is being readied, and Ryan Harper-Ellam is going to secure victory in the penultimate race of the 2018 Radical SR1 Championship. That also keeps the championship hopes just about alive for the second race of the weekend. Over the start-finish line in second place will come Shane Stoney, but remember, he's got an extra 10-second penalty for being out of position at the start, so second place will go the way of Dean Warriner and from James Pinkerton, who'll be there in third place. But Ryan Harper-Ellam did exactly what he needed to do. He qualified on pole position, got the extra championship point for that. He claimed the win to take the maximum 40 championship points and got the fastest lap as well. Lyndon McNeil looks as pleased as punch as well. That's his first race done and dusted in the Radical SR1 Cup. Confirmation of the results: Ryan Harper-Ellam claims the win from Dean Warriner in second place. James Pinkerton is there in third, head of Shane Stoney in fourth. Chris Short and Julian Lay complete the top 6. Mackenzie Walker, Will Hunt, Mark Williams and Gavin McAlpine complete the top 10. Then it's Lyndon McNeil, Paul Clark and David Tagg. So for the 7th time this season, Ryan Harper-Ellam clambers onto the top step of the podium, joined by Dean Warren and James Pinkerton, but also Julian Lay, who secured victory in the Fangio Cup, and Chris Short will also join them on the podium. So 5 drivers to be presented with trophies for the ultimate race of the season here at Brands Hatch. It's time to hear from our race winner.
First lap, obviously, it was still drying up a little bit, so get that out of the way. I know it was a little bit close, you know, I think some of the cars behind were started on the wet tyres, so initially a bit of a disadvantage, but then the track came to me and it was kind of plain sailing from there.
So I had to make my radical very wide coming into paddock. James was right behind me for the last 5 or 6 laps. I started on the wet tyres, so thought we'd take a gamble. We had 7 attempts in qualifying to the next car behind us, so we knew it was a little bit of a gamble, but it was a fairly safe one. The last 5 or 6 laps, I was just waiting for the checker flags, to be honest with you.
3rd place, but mathematically it still puts you in a strong position with one more race to go.
Yeah, we can't be too cautious and we've got to keep pushing, but yeah, it's sort of where we wanted to be.
Whilst you're driving around, I was saying in commentary, whilst you're driving around, are you doing the maths in your head as well at the same time?
I'm trying not to. Try not to overthink it, but no, it's going all right, but anything can happen. So,
as you say, anything can happen. Looking back at what you've already done, because that's all we can do, it's been a consistent season. If that continues to this afternoon, we're probably going to crown you a champion.
Let's hope so, yeah. It'd be nice.
But I had a race-long battle with Chris, which was really good. But unfortunately, Chris beat me, but it was a fantastic race.
Yeah, super chuffed. Really good race for me. Wasn't happy with my qualifying, but so to finish where I have, really happy. Got some friends here today as well, so pleased to be up here for them.
Oh, the race was fantastic. The grip, the circuit's changed completely since this morning. I can't wait to do the second race where it's even drier now. The speed, it's just getting quicker and quicker, and the car's so easy to drive and so much fun. It's brilliant.